And we're live.
And we're live. And we're calm. We're in a place of calm.
Calm. Zen.
We did not just get heated on the pre-call. I did not get riled up 5 minutes ago and need to take a few deep breaths.
Yes. Well, and as we prepare to get riled up for the same topic that we start off with. So,
yeah, I know. Well, here we are. Like I just said, I did not just get riled up, and you're all about to see it. So, Lenny, why don't you share the news, and then I'll chime into why I got riled up, because hopefully people in our audience will understand. And yeah.
We'll dive right in. So a little bit of context, right? We've been covering the story of Dynata with their the challenges they had, their recapitalization and sale, because they are such a significant player within the ecosystem. They're large. They made it through the challenging part that they had with new owners of Bain and BlackRock and a few other folks. And this week they announced their new board of directors. And at one level, we'll let you go with the other level, right? One level.
Yeah, you start. Will you start?
Well, there's some real pros, right? And Mitch Barnes from Nielsen. There's some great people. It's interesting. A lot of representatives from their investors. Of course, it is a board of directors. They're going to have that. Folks that I'm sure are incredibly competent, heavy hitters, instill confidence that the adults are in the room, right? They know what they're doing, and they're going to, prepare the business for the next level. And I expect all those things are true. But there are some blind spots, right?
Blind spots. So I encourage, Carly will share the link. I encourage everybody who's, looking at it, click on the link and say, what jumps out at you with that board of directors? Because as a female, I literally was like, are you effing? I didn't even read the article before I saw such a lack of diversity, not a woman on it. Or are you kidding me? In 2024, almost 2025, we are setting up a brand new board of directors for a very large company with many female employees. I don't know what the counts are, but I imagine there is employee equality at that organization for the most part, because so many women are in this industry, and there isn't a woman on the board, let alone someone of color. And now, Lenny, it heats me not just for the lack of representation, but are they also not aware of the comprehensive decision-making, different perspectives, and the value that brings to conversations? That there's actually, I think, evidence I don't have them, so I can't quote them at the ready, research that shows that there is better performance when you have diversity on a board, that females in those types of governance and leadership positions bring value, for heaven's sake. And did they not look at it and say, maybe we shouldn't be so blind to this? I find it infuriating. And I know that it's just so obvious that that's not something they were looking at. They were looking at, who they had and what could be great strategic thinkers. But the message to the business is not a good one, in my opinion. And I know we have a great relationship with Dynata, and I know it's not the people that we work with. This is not their doing, but this one triggered me for sure.
It is interesting because BlackRock has been a huge proponent of DEI and pushing that across all of their portfolio companies. So from that perspective, it does seem to be a little surprising that they didn't, in this particular case, maybe practice what they preach. But as you said, Dynata, we love you. Board, right? You guys, I'm sure you rock, and you're going to do exactly what needs to be done for the business to succeed. But there's a perceptual issue that perhaps you should address.
Well, and a strategic issue. Again, certainly women in those types of positions will bring a different perspective, will bring a different voice, have a different lens. That is the benefit. When you embrace diversity and you make sure that you have covered your bases, with that, you actually open up greater problem-solving capabilities. You open up, again, innovation opportunities because of the diversity of thought.
I agree. and this is why you and I do so well together, right? I'll
Yeah.
be the first one. Look, for the record, I want to be really clear here as a male. My wife and my daughters and my colleagues, I am nothing without them. You guys make me better at every level, as a man, as a person, as a father, as a husband, every single day. So I'm with you, right, from
Yeah,
that
yeah.
standpoint.
So all my wire colleagues who are paying attention to this, there you go. Let's discuss.
Yes. All right. So,
but we can move on. I'll get off that soapbox and we will move on.
but on a related topic,
Yes.
to a sample,
Yes.
our good friend, longtime friend, JD Deitch just released an ebook, and I want to say it. I want to say the title because I just think it's fun as hell.
Absolutely. I almost dropped the F-bomb already, so I think you can
well, this isn't. I don't even think this is a profanity. The enshittification of programmatic sampling, and boy, I just love that word. I had never seen it before. Cory Doctorow, I think, he credited with bringing that up. It discusses the fundamental issues of programmatic sampling. Now, this is kind of almost a whistleblower kind of thing. Right? I mean, JD's been in the industry for many years, across the board, senior level roles. He was the COO at Cint. The man knows how the sausage is made. And he's recognized legitimate challenges that we all recognize. This is not some big secret, right? We've seen it. We've seen it play out. And he breaks it down in a very compelling way of, look, here's the challenges. This is the fallout of these challenges. We need to solve this. It is a kind of an existential issue. It's compounded now through the advent of AI and yada, 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 all things we've been talking about for a long time. He encapsulates that just in a really great way. He's a great writer. He's very, very entertaining, and
he's also just a really, a good man. I had the opportunity to meet him for the first time just a few years ago, actually overseas at, what's the conference in Germany? Succeed, the event over there. And, instantly likable, had a great time. Just a really good guy. So, spoiler alert, we're going to be having him on the Green Book podcast. Lenny's going to have that conversation. So before the end of the year, you will hear from him again.
Yes. So encourage you to really download it. It's not that long. It's a quick read, but it's a good read. And it's, again, it just pulls together a lot of threads that we've been talking about in lots of different arenas with a unique perspective of somebody who's been, in that business and knows firsthand what the challenges and opportunities are. So definitely encourage you.
And if this is your, if you're like, oh yeah, the Green Book podcast, if you haven't already found it on whatever podcast platform you use, find it, subscribe to it, or like it, do all that so that you get this episode, because I think it's gonna be a good one. I'm excited for that one.
I am too. We're recording in November, right? So next month, a couple weeks. So yep, it'll be a good one. Kind of a related.
Just another shout out. It just came up this morning, actually, in my LinkedIn feed. 10K humans who are just doing so much work always for the industry. They have this study out right now where they're just gauging, AI's role in market research. And so I actually went on and I took this study of theirs. Right, it's just kind of seeing how are people adopting it. But it's a really, the reason why I shared the link on LinkedIn, and we'll share it again here to participate. It's a really interesting study to take care of because it's using AI technology in the study. And so I was getting real-time feedback on my answers that were qualitative, qualitative open ends. And then I would type something and the response was actually, it was really interesting to me exactly how contextually accurate the conversation was going in this survey. And I was like, all right, neat. I actually can't wait to see how this turns out. And it was one of my first times participating in such an AI the AI tool, because I don't always qualify for surveys, right? So this one I was like, all right,
right,
I can get in on this one. So anyway, it was cool. So it'll do the industry a solid if people participate, and also you might find it really interesting from a platform standpoint. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I had not seen that. Glad you found it. I will participate. We give shout out. Ray Pointer's doing good work on that. Grit comes out early next week. We're going to have a lot of data on this. We're going to cover another report here at the end that has a lot of information on this. So yes, it's AI all the time because here we are.
Well, let's just jump down to that, Carly. This is way down under reports. It's the Qualtrics report, and I just think there's some good stats about that one, right? I'm assuming that's the one that you meant,
yes.
Lenny?
Yep.
So Qualtrics, Qualtrics, who does a lot of this report and is sharing things out as well. I think last week we talked about a different report of theirs, but this one talks about how AI is expected to drive massive changes to research in 2025. Well, we could probably, Lenny and I would say, well, duh, that's not news, right? And it says revolutionizing project work. And we're like, well, yes, that's not news. But the stats where I thought what was the most interesting.
They really were. I think I don't have it up in front of me by memory, or something to the effect of 70+% of research professionals. This is a study of research professionals, by the way. So this is kind of like a grit type thing that Qualtrics does that from their perspective, and really appreciate it them doing that on the amount of transformation and impact, particularly on synthetic sample. That the amount of the synthetic sample will replace traditional sampling.
And what's cool is this other thing, which I did write down, this quote: market research teams using advanced AI and synthetic personas report growing budgets and influence. I found that one really interesting, because I'm like, okay, hold up, because we're getting credibility. We're getting, like, that was a surprise to me. And actually, I would dig into that a little bit to understand more, but they're getting larger budgets. Like, that's fascinating.
That is fascinating, because they're creating more impact faster. And that is slight contextual. This week, sometimes it just happens where just a topic dominates the entire week in every conversation, right? This has been that kind of week where, and particularly feedback from others on the changes that they are directly experiencing and seeing. And one of that feedback was on I'm navigating NDAs, right? Kind of thing. The what one supplier shared with me that they were involved in a study, or in a proposal with a client on synthetic sample. They had tested multiple approaches compared to their existing data. They found that the general LLM synthetic sample was crap. Right. That didn't work. That missed it a lot. But when, and this should sound familiar to anybody who listens to us, the synthetic sample based off of real data, off of real people, was spot on with the traditional study. So it was cheaper, it was faster, and it replaced that specific study. There was no need to go out and ask the questions. And that's what Qualtrics is talking about.
If you think about, as I try to wrangle, like, okay, so why would this allow them to get more money? But the speed to insights can work faster to get to strategic decision making, then it's worth the spend. So if it's like, hey, this is going to take me 6 or 8 weeks, I may not put money towards that, because by the time I get the intel, it's not going to be useful anymore. It won't be usable for some of that strategic decision making. So the speed to these insights, if they're good, well, then suddenly we've got something that's worth spending money on. So
and I would say within Grit, we do not capture that same information, or we didn't ask it the same way either. So but I will say, at this point right now, pay attention to the public companies. Pay attention to the public, especially when they announce an earnings warning or earnings notice. Because I can tell you that this change we're talking about right now, it is manifesting right now. It is changing the nature of the industry. Monies are being reallocated to new approaches and new suppliers. Existing companies are feeling the hit.
Yeah.
It's measurable.
Yeah.
And significant.
Yeah.
And it's only going to increase. That's, and I don't mean as a doom and gloom. It's like we knew this was going to happen. It is happening faster than I thought it would.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah.
And the opportunities that creates to jump in and get ahead of this, and transform your business now and prepare for that, as these things continue to accelerate and is immense. And now it's time to do it. Because we see it. We have clear data, multiple data points, multiple data sources that tell us this here, what we've been talking about for the last
I know.
Yeah, 62 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
Yes.
So let's stick with the money conversation, right?
Yes.
Because as we say all the time, like follow the money, right? And where money is being doled out, pay attention. So Cambri raises, what's that, 8 million euros in funding for its AI-powered consumer insights and innovation platform. And I did the math, that's about $10 million US. That tool, I didn't know this company, and I was like, all right, let me, take a look at it. But that tool, which will help reduce product launch failures, that's pretty cool.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because now we're at that point where we're like, yes, here is an efficient way to prevent or mitigate the risk of loss, if not prevent it.
Yes.
And the reason why they're getting money is the cost saving. The cost of a failure, right, is great. So if we can invest a little bit upfront to stack the deck so that we're more successful and we don't launch something that won't work, I don't know. I just thought this was super cool. Of course, that's where money's going.
Right. Nielsen, or back in the day, if you remember Afanova, right, which was acquired by Nielsen, by Bases, right? The IRI. I mean, yes, that's huge. And I think what we're running through this whole thing we're going to talk through is now we're at the point where we're not talking about general AI. We were talking about fit for purpose, business issue focused applications of the technology. So it's not only we're already past this, the efficiency thing. We're past that.
Right.
Now we're into how does it make things demonstrably better while also being more efficient. And those companies coming out of the woodwork. So guys, get used to it. There is so much we have to leave at on the table every week now with the exchange. Because there's just so much coming.
There's so much coming. Anyway, it's a fun time to be alive, which we say like every week, right?
That's right. All right. Well, let's go on. I want to get your take on Strella. I was impressed by this. So as someone who is, serves as an advisor with Remesh and with Recollective, to see a company that now is kind of combining the human and the AI for qualitative, to almost kind of choose your level of AI support. I thought was super smart. I've been waiting to see something like that enter the market, and they came out of the gate with 4 million in seed funding.
Pretty cool, right? Well, and what I liked about that instantly is this idea of, that's what makes it unique, right? Is you can do both at a project level. You can do both types of interviewing. You can do, human, traditional interviewing, and you can also get the AI assist. What I liked about it was anybody who's ever done qual, you understand, you do a certain number of interviews and then you start kind of validating what you're hearing. It just happens, right? It's you just get to this level where your gut starts saying, yes, this is real, and it feels, even if it's not projectable, based on the type of study that you're doing, it gives you a solid foundation for what you think the output of the study is. So if I start to do this study and I'm doing some of my own interviewing, and then I start to see the similarities in the AI patterns, now suddenly I'm like, oh, cool. I could probably do, my handful of interviews, but then do qual at scale. And I will have that gut check kind of built in. That's what the opportunity I thought of was, like this idea that there's built-in validation from the human perspective.
Yes.
Doing both, and you can
side by side
feel really confident in the qual at scale since you're side by side doing it yourself. I loved that part of it. It was cool.
Absolutely. Now combine that with, the fully synthetic early stage ideation. Because I saw a demo today, or not today, earlier this week, of a fully synthetic sample, fully AI driven qualitative session. To explore concept, to inform kind of marketing positioning. It was amazing. I didn't trust it. Right. I'm not there yet. So in this is, so now we're looking at Strella from or any of the other players. I can tell you every other player out there is doing something similar, right? Whether they've launched it yet or not. So that cycle of like, okay, we can do full AI hypothesis testing, and then we can do exactly what you just described. We can do this mix of AI and human. So we're validating and optimizing all at the same time. And we should point out that this is also at scale. This is a quantitative scale, even though it is a qualitative feedback. Exactly what we've been predicting was going to occur. And here we are. So
cool.
Yep. Very cool. All right.
Now this next platform, look, I was like, I would be so interested in this. I don't have a teen anymore, but I saw this and I thought, cool. Like if you go through this next article, so there's a company called Cafeteria. They've raised $3 million to connect brands with their most opinionated customers, the teens. But it's an app that a teen can download and they can get, like 10, 20 bucks, like, which for teens is like, cool. I can go to McDonald's now. Anyway. That's what at least the teenage years were like for me for a while there. Like all they need is a little bit of cash in their pocket, right? But once a teen joins the app, they select the brands they're interested in, and then Cafeteria invites them to participate in these surveys. And then teens can just answer via text or voice, so they can decide how they want to interact with the platform based on the brand. So for a brand who wants to talk to a teen, and, these teens are like, oh, sure, I'll download that app because then the money is like automatically put, like, it's just how they live. It is showing up where teens are on their phones, transferring money through their phones the way they're used to getting money. Like, it seems like a really cool possibility. And
absolutely.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. And think where you go from there, building, communities, influencers. I mean, there's so many things to play off of.
So much. Yeah.
Very, very cool. They're thinking like marketers.
Yeah.
So
exactly. And, and again, you think about this sort of brand research, but you could just say, heck, just ask them. Let's just ask them. Like they're there, right? They're there. And anyway, so so cool. So check out Cafeteria because I might download the app. I haven't done it yet, but I also feel a little bit like, again, don't have a teen, not a teen. Anyway, so I'm nothing if not honest, for better for worse. You get honesty with me all the time.
I get it. And trust me, folks, that is true. So shout out to Bob Fawson. Bob has been around the industry forever. In really critical roles, speaking of Dynata, he had Dynata. Launched the Data Quality Co-op, $1.25 million to launch a platform enhancing transparency in first-party data market. So I read that, and my first thought was, congratulations, Bob, because we tried to do that very glyph and we couldn't pull it off. So God bless you. Glad that you did it. It serves the need. And again, back to the data quality conversations, JD, all of those things. It's good to see companies emerging that are fundamentally trying to take down the barriers that are part of the problem of data quality, and creating new solutions for transparency and quality insurance. So good deal.
Well, and what I liked about this too is, you and I were saying when we first started talking about the bot farm and all that other stuff, like at that time when we were talking about that stuff, we were saying like the big problem is eroding trust in what we do. So, and how upsetting that is, right? If people can't trust the integrity of our data, well, then the whole industry is going to, go down the crapper. And we really needed partners to start stepping up and upping the focus on that so that we don't, spoil the majority of the industry. Anyway, but I love that they're like, we believe in our technology enabling companies to better trust the data powering their decisions. That is the message, right? Is if you are making decisions based on this data, we want you to trust it. End of story. It's so simple in that messaging.
It is, and importantly, they do not describe that as a market research solution.
Yeah.
They very purposely utilize, terminology on, first party data.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of its applications.
Yeah.
And as we've been talking about, data is the new oil. They're making sure that that the product is pure.
Yeah.
Because it has so many applications outside of just research.
Yeah.
So, and why is that increasingly important? Because of AI.
Yeah.
So hats off, Bob. We got a couple more.
I mean, look, this product launch here, it ties into that, right? This data framework from Kenvue, which which I think you found. I don't even remember anymore. Anyway, they have this data framework, and it's to fuel, quote unquote, to fuel sustainability efforts by focusing on data quality. And there isn't a implicit connection for me there, right? I'm like, okay, help me understand, kind of the holistic view of sustainability and what we're talking about within the data that requires a new framework. But one of the quotes from this press release is that it says they were spending too much time trying to bring all their data into one place, which one of the he's in the article described as a just in case intergalactic data lake. And I just was like, well, that's so interesting. So we're talking about sustainable business practices, not just, kind of save the earth and some of the larger issues here. We're talking about, we've spent a lot of time and money to do this one thing, and maybe that's not where our focus should be. So that was a facet of them creating this framework to clean up their data and to make their data usable and focus on the data that is truly worth democratizing. I just thought it was an interesting concept. Everybody should check out what Kenvue is doing.
It is. I got a little context there. Kenvue is a Gen 2 client. And for those Kenvue's spinoff of J&J, it was the CPG, J&J spinoff, separate company now. But they took that opportunity to change. They were open to whatever change they needed to make.
Yeah.
From a marketing and market research perspective.
Yeah.
To move forward in a new way. Sorry, I'm trying to just make sure I'm not saying.
Yeah, of course. I know. I totally get
it. So that what I can say, and I don't this is totally okay. They were focused on, they were not going to be bound by the old way, by the how they'd done things historically with J&J. They were going to do things new. Hence why they engaged with us. So I've been incredibly impressed with their approach to everything's on the table. This is an example of that. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, worth checking out again. Maybe this is something that, you want to put in place in your organization. And I don't know. I just think people in our industry, they just love a good framework, right? I just love a good framework. We're like talking about frameworks. So when people pitch, for speaking spots or getting speaking spots, they're like, I have this framework. And I'm like, cool. We love a good framework.
I don't think I can say what, but it has come out with another framework. And so I see what they're cooking. And it's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, that's funny. Anyway,
all right. AYTM are good friends. AYTM, longtime partners, and that I am not an advisor to any longer. So, AI powered research assistant called Skipper.
Yep.
Everybody's doing it.
I love giving it a name. First of all, I just want it for the record. One of my earliest stuffed animals was named Skipper. So I'm just totally on board. I loved Skipper. I love the name. It's all good. Anyway,
I'll say this one. What's interesting about AYTM is they've always had a keen design sensibility. They're designed first. I haven't seen this, but I suspect that it's going to look and feel very different than anything else out there because everything they do does. So definitely would encourage everybody to check it out. They don't do anything because everybody else does. It's baked into this. It adds value, which is just a really great approach to think about things. So
and also I think there was something else about this one that I don't want to leave it unsaid, but when I was reading their kind of list of some of these things, like predictive sample engine, an adaptive survey editor, comprehensive insights and analytics dashboard, an insights portal pulling results from multiple studies. And I'm like, into a single interface, right? And I'm like, yes, of course. That is where we're going with all of this. Like those things, I feel like I'm like, yeah, that is what all of these companies should really just start to have. So use that one as sort of a, take a look at this and like saying, am I offering these things too? Because those should just be what survey companies do.
Right. They're just baked in, right?
Like,
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm already at the, kind of course, this is what I would want in a survey company. Wouldn't everybody? But anyway, so.
And it will be. Everybody will be doing those things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's, we're just now at this kind of
shoot, Lenny, we are at 30 minutes.
I know. So let's wrap these up real quick. So Nick launched a market mix modeling solution with AI. Y-Pulse, shout out to Dan Coates, AI to access all of their data repository. So good deal. Ipsos partnered with Curb Cut OS to launch accessible UX audit. Now you caught that one. Talk about that for a second. I thought that was really
it's just a way to make sure that your user interface is accessible. And so it's kind of, dealing with this important work. And I think it's UK based, right? Because it's meeting standards of the European Accessibility Act. So it's just, for people who, at all pay attention to their web presence, you want everybody to be able to access your site. Anyway, so I think it's just kind of a cool tool for a very specific purpose, right? Here we go. Specific purposes, right? Use cases. So yeah, cool stuff.
All right. Let's give a shout out to the YouGov report on different generations engage with ads.
Yeah.
Check it out as we think about ad testing, right? Ad tracking, et cetera, et cetera. There are significant generational differences. We know that platforms they use, et cetera, et cetera. YouGov pulled that off. We've mentioned a couple times the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses. It is now the top selling product in many Ray-Ban stores across EMEA.
Cool. I know it's cool.
So we're there with a credible wearable solution entering the market. And then finally, the Microsoft rolls out autonomous Copilot agents. We still no matter what, Office is still the bedrock tool that we all use for production of research reports, et cetera, et cetera. The opportunity to use Copilot to create and embed AI to automate those processes, I think is just really cool. And there's all types of things that can be done. So yeah, lots of stuff.
Always lots of stuff. So yeah, pretty cool to end on a less emotional note than we began on, Lenny. So
usually it's me going off on the rants. I like it when you do. So.
Well, and again, Kristen Luck and I have talked quite a bit about like women on boards, and I'm sure you can imagine as somebody who sits on boards, and it's just the men who are at that level, like if they don't see the value in it, they're going to just keep saying, who are these people that we should invite into our boards, and women aren't getting those seats at those tables. And yet there are so many women who work hard in this industry, and it just is one of those things. So anyway, don't get me started. I'll go back into that with all my wire conversations about women in leadership positions. And that's one of the reasons why we always work at Green Book at this point, at least we're working really hard to make sure women see themselves on stage. And the work of Wire is important to me personally. So
absolutely. Anyway. Great partners. We agree.
Yeah, I know you're in agreement on this, which is why I can rant to you just a bit. So
yes.
Anyway.
All right. Well, I guess that's it.
That is it. I'm going to go meditate.
Then get back to that Zen state we started with.
Exactly. So,
right.
And we'll see everybody soon.
Everybody take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.